All right, everyone. So there's a cool, and this is a little aside, but it's pretty cool, I think. There's a cool way to kind of calibrate essentially your strain gauges. I mean, calibrations are always a really critical step. But what you can do is you can do a shunt calibration, meaning you have a half Wheatstone bridge configuration. You have a shunt resistor that's initially open. So when you'll have basically this change in resistance. So if I'm just looking right here, right now, the initial resistance, my change in resistance is equal to resistance final minus resistance initial. So initial resistance is just R1 here. But if I close this shunt and it's in parallel, you can kind of see now what the new resistance is going to be in the final resistance. And what you can do is you can leverage this relationship to figure out essentially strain. So you can actually leverage this to kind of see and do basically shunt calibrations. So it's a little aside. I think it's really, really cool. One important thing is the absolute value of that change in resistance to kind of be sure, but you can leverage that essentially in some of these expressions. So let's do a quick little example. And we probably won't calculate it out, but we can kind of define everything that we kind of see here. So I have aluminum 61 cantilever beam. So we know that my Young's modulus is equal to 69 times 10 to the ninth gigapascal, or pascals. If you just say it's a metal, we can just say it's 100 times 10 to the ninth pascals. Poisson's ratio is 0.3. Wheatstone bridge, the gauge factor, F equals 2. The excitation voltage, so VI or Vx is equal to 5 volts. Beam thickness, so our height is equal to 0.1 meters. Our length is 10 meters. Initial resistances in each arm, 120, assuming that they're all equal. What's the change in voltage after the load is applied? The load is this. So let's go ahead and figure it out. We're in a full bridge configuration. So at the top, and we know that this distance here is 8 meters from the load to where it's applied. We have the width is also defined here, 1 meter. Height is defined here. So epsilon 1, that strain gauge on the top, as it's bending, that'll just be EB. 4 will also be EB, and 2 and 3 will be negative EB because they're being compressed. And that leaves us with delta V naught, which is what we're solving for. We have VI. F we have, which is just going to be equal now to, and in this scenario, there'd be no thermal strain as well, even though we're not given anything about temperature, so we could assume that's 0. So that's just going to be 4 EB. And so cancel that out, substitute in our EB expression here. We know the load, we know this, and then we're ready to go. And you can calculate that out. So this is how you're actually going to leverage essentially writing this out. This is another fun example. So I'm bending this piece out of the board. So it's going to pop out basically in the one direction. So what's going to be happening here? I have a combined loading state. So if I look at, there's also going to be, all of these are aligned in the one direction. So my strain in the 1-1 is going to be equal to 1 over E, stress in 1-1 minus nu, stress 2-2 plus stress 3-3, plus stress 3-3. In this instance, there's only going to be stress in the 2-2 direction, which is, again, a little bit, I think this is a little bit odd here. So this is 2, this is 1. So my strain in the 1-1 direction, there's a little typo there. So there's no stress in the 3-3. There's no stress in the 1-1, so that's gone. So now, as we see here, this is the only expression for my axial strain from the stress that's applied. Now there's also going to be basically this bounce out. So E11 is just going to appear in all 4 strain gauges because they're all in that same direction, right? That's the strain that is being measured. And then again, on the top, positive bending, negative bending, and then you can kind of write them all out here. Excellent. What about here? Strain gauges, cylindrical vessel, aluminum full bridge configuration. Initial resistances are this. Gauge factor is 4, so F equals 4. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. A shunt is placed across the strain gauge, and the output reads 20 units. So we are doing a shunt. So let's go ahead, and then after the cylindrical, you read an output of 50. Now, what's our shunt resistor here? We're actually not told, and I think this is going to be actually on that will actually be on kind of a problem set statement. So actually, we can see. Actually, I think we can leverage. It's 20 over 50. Yeah, we still need the shunt. But if we have a thin-walled pressure vessel, we can actually leverage this same kind of relationship. Here, these are along the hoop direction. Here, these are along the longitudinal direction. And then we can all solve and figure those out, depending on what that output is going to be. But basically, if you have, anytime you hear shunt, we need to kind of run back to this expression here. Where's our shunt resistance? Right here. So basically, we need to kind of calibrate, with this. So we'll come back to that. So where are we at? Excellent. So one last topic when it comes to strain gauges, and those are rectangular and delta strain rosettes. And how are we going to calculate essentially strain in different directions with a single strain gauge and leveraging essentially rotations and equations and rotations. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.